Hey everybody, it's Maker Monday. And have you ever started a conversation about one thing and then all of a sudden it led to another, which led to another, but then it just brings it around into something amazing? I feel like art teachers get that because like they can follow a conversation that goes all over the place. Often my colleagues look at me like I'm crazy because they're like, oh my gosh, Kris, how did you go from this subject all the way to that subject and then back to the original subject? And I'm like, I don't know, that's just how my brain thinks. Well, that's sort of how today's Maker Monday came to be. I was really thinking about somebody really good at drawing, illustrating, great teacher for that. And I thought of Cheryl McMickle. And I called her and we started talking about Inktober, which I believe is Jake Parker's copyrighted book and invention. And a lot of people do that. But as we started talking about October and drawing, it then started talking about other forms of drawing, which got into blind contour, which I'm super excited about because we had a really cool blind contour Maker Monday. And from there, it turned into this Monster Mash. So I am Kris Bakke, and I am thrilled to be here today. I would like to introduce you to Cheryl McMickle. Cheryl, I am so excited to have you here. You are nothing but fun and extremely talented and an amazing teacher. So thank you so much. I will turn it over to you and you can sort of say and tell us about this. So everybody, now's a great time to grab some paper. Really a pen is all you really truly need. But if you want to bring other drawing supplies, you can. A mirror helps. Otherwise, you could use your phone in a selfie, but a mirror is really the way to go. And Cheryl, take over and let's do this.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. And I am Cheryl McMickle. I teach high school now, but I've done that for the last 12 years, but I spent 12 years teaching elementary as well. And I'm just so honored that Kris would ask me to be involved with this. I'm just like really thrilled and also a little nervous, so I'll say something goofy, I'm sure. So blind contour, I don't think is really all that new to teachers, but what I'm going to do is do a little demonstration with it, and then show you some ways that you know, we in our building, in our school, and I teach in Arkansas, in Forest City, Arkansas, have you know, implemented a little literacy into it, or a little SEL going on in it, you know, just have students being able to express their own feelings, having kind of that therapeutic time as well. And the idea that the reason that we sort of got the idea of the Monster Mash is that I said to Kris, you know, that when you do one, whoops, move it this way. When you do one, that sometimes the things that you write about, I tell my students, you know, it's not just all the good. It can be the good, the bad, and the ugly, you know. So then we started thinking about, you know, monsters and, you know, that little bit of a monster that might be inside of us. And so anyway, I'm just going to, first thing I'm going to do is actually adjust my camera. And so brace yourself, because I may shake you up a little bit, but you know, we've been doing that, haven't we been doing this? We've been Zooming and all that. We've learned to grab that document camera and change it around, show kids. So I'm gonna do that right now. And I'm gonna bring it up here, raise it up a little. You got to see my ceiling, that's so great. And I'm gonna put it right there on me and my mirror for just a minute so that you can watch me actually draw blind. And I don't know if I need to zoom in more. Ooh, I may need to. I don't know if I can tell it to lock my screen. Now that may be a thing. Looks like it's going to be okay. All right. So when I'm talking to students about drawing blind, first thing I have to do is reassure them a ton, because they think it's it's just the most crazy thing they've ever heard. You know, that you're going to not look at your paper while you're drawing. And some of them think that I mean, when I say that they're drawing blind, that they're actually going to close their eyes. I've had students start to draw and close their eyes. I'm like, no, baby, you do have to, you do have to look in the mirror. You do have to look intently. In fact, that's what this exercise is all about. It's about learning to get your eye and your hand to work together, and for your hand to trust what your eye is doing. And it helps students a lot to start breaking away from drawing what they think they see and drawing what they really see.
Cheryl, you're a little tiny bit out of focus.
Okay, let me see if I can do something about that. Normally my hover cam has a little
automatic.
Yeah, document camera has a little thing I can click that will lock the focus. I'm not sure how to do that in this mode that we have it in. Let me see. How can I do that? What if I zoom it in a little bit?
Perfect.
Yeah, what happens though is if I'm moving, it may try to refocus.
Try it.
Okay. I'll try not to move.
You're allowed to move.
Okay, better?
Yeah, much better.
Just tell me if it happens again. Okay, so first convincing students that that's a good thing, and then convincing them that when it looks weird and funky, that that's also a good thing. So like when something comes out looking like, I'm gonna come close to my camera, comes out looking, you know, like it otherworldly, that they are able to accept that, or just draw again, or go again. So what I tell my students is to find the place they want to start. I usually tell them around the eye area because there's lines there to draw. We practice a few times. We practice, so by the time we actually do what I'm going to show, they've drawn a few. They've drawn 3 or 4 for sure. Well, they may have spent a day drawing their hands, and now we're going to draw this portrait. And so they've kind of gotten used to the awkwardness of it, and it is awkward. So I'm using just an InkJoy. That's my favorite little ballpoint pen, but you can use Sharpie, you can use Crayola markers. I'm going to show you some examples where we've done that. And then you're just going to find a point and start. Now I tell my students, if we get interrupted and you look away and you have to look back, okay, ain't nobody hitting you on the head with a fly swatter or something because you had to look up or you had to look down. But you just find a spot to go again. And I'm going to tell you why I tell them that in just a minute. So if you want to draw with me, or if you want to watch me for a moment and then start drawing your own, you absolutely can. I'm going to try to keep my hand and my eye at the same pace, but I'm not going way, way, way slow. I'm just going to try to keep them together at the same pace. And I usually start with my glasses. Is the camera okay?
It's a little tiny bit blurry. I'm just afraid if we have you mess with it too much, we're just going to keep, maybe tilt it down just a little tiny bit.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So my thing was I was going to have you be sure and see how I really focus in the mirror. So let me get down here and do, actually, Kris and I were talking about this, and sometimes where you are to the mirror, I might even take a drawing board and back up and get a little distance. That probably really took that camera for a loop right then when I did that. So I'm going to start drawing, and I'm going to draw just start with my eyes, move around my facial area and my hair. And one thing I really stress with the kids is try to keep this continual line. So continual line means we don't pick up. So you're trying to do two things. You're trying to not look at your paper. You're trying to not pick up your pen. Those two things. So I'm going to start right now. It's hard to do this and talk. And my kids sometimes think I'm telling them that because I don't want them to talk. But the truth is, it's a very right brain sort of activity, and talking is a very left brain verbal activity. And so it's hard to concentrate. So if I get real quiet, I just can't help it. Oh crap, y'all, my pen's not writing. I did all that. I did all that and have a blank paper. Let me grab a Sharpie. I don't know why that happened. It happened because that's how things go. All right, going again. I tell them, if you lose your place, make a decision. Say, this is where I am, and just keep going. I got so many chin rolls. So sometimes when my students are doing this and when I'm doing this, we do a lot of drawing and everything, and you get all the way up to the top of your head and you realize you've done everything except your neck and your shoulders. And I always try to get them to go ahead and try to get their neck and shoulders in there. It helps balance out the drawing. And so if that happens and they can't get back down to where they were, I tell them, okay, pick up, look at a spot, put your pen down, and go back drawing blind again. I spent a lot of years teaching drawing and having them, no matter what, you can't pick up. Well, that's some crap. You you can do what you need to do, but you're just trying your best to make your eye and hand work together. That's the skill that we're really shooting for. I don't even know now if I did my other eye or not, and I'm not too worried about it. And I'm going to stop mine there because I want to get on to, but you can see what I've got.
Good she is.
Okay. Now, the thing about
so good.
Well, thank you.
I get so jealous because that whole neck and shoulder thing that was like you pretty much, it was like, oh my gosh, is she secretly looking at mine? Because I forget my neck every time.
Well, and if I had gotten up here and I was just done, I was just like, I don't know what to do, then cut yourself a break. We're not into this to somehow be tortured. You get up here and you look down and you say, okay, I'll start here. And then you look back in the mirror. I tell them, if you're drawing, if you're making a mark on your paper, don't be looking at your paper. But if something happens, let's say we have a call on the intercom and somebody opens the door to the classroom, everybody looks. Well, okay, well then find your spot and then go back to drawing blind. For Pete's sake, don't kill yourself about it. You just don't need to stress that much about it.
So just a real quick question is, yes. Pamela asks, what's the best way to complete it? So you started with like the eyes and then did a little of her hair and went down in the face. Is there a path that one should take to make this easier?
Probably, but I never do it the same way twice. I usually start in this area because there's a lot of interest, especially for me that I'm older and I wear glasses now. But even if not, there's a lot of your personality in your eyebrow and all that. So I generally start here. Now, some teachers teach do not, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not even pointing at myself. Some teachers teach don't backtrack, you know, which is true that if you don't like if I got out here and came back and did my eye and came back here and suddenly, you know, where am I going to go now? Do I backtrack some to my eyebrow? I backtrack all the time.
I do too.
But some teachers, you know, say, well, you'll have more line, you know, more spaces to draw in if you don't. I don't throw that into the mix because they're already stressing that they're doing something so weird. And so, but leaving that pin down is what's going to give you this line here. And so today I went this way and ended up over here and went up over here and, you know, I think I came down here. I mean, I was nervous. I'm talking while I'm doing it. But
when you tell your kids, is there like a general rule of thumb that you say to kids to make it easier? I know that when we did the blind contour of our hands, Karen Crosby, the art teacher that did that one, she sort of made them look at their hand and kind of
map out ahead.
sort of study like, like, okay, if I start here, I might do these lines, come up, do these lines, come around, do the lines, and kind of look at it that way, like study your face a little bit.
You know, I had not ever really thought about that a lot. You know, that's probably a very good idea. So now you're learning my weaknesses. Thank you.
Well, and honestly, that's what this, I mean, no, it's not like we build you as the blind contour expert of 2020. You're teaching what you know and how you do it, and the questions are great because it starts conversation, and this is how we learn, and it's super valuable to me because then I can share it out and this webinar shares it out. So no worries if you don't answer the question exactly the way.
I will tell you one thing I do say to them. I look at them like this and I say, y'all, I really want to see, you're going to, of course, do a lot of this, and you may accidentally leave something out, and that's okay. But try to also get think about the top of your head, and then also think about your collar and your shoulders, so that you don't look like your head is floating. So I think that when they think about that, they may subconsciously start a path because they're kind of planning ahead. Where's that going to be? And
the nice part about this too is how it morphs. You know what I mean? So this one definitely helps in terms of if it's not your best blind contour attempt, the morphing of it is going to turn it into something great. So I'm not trying to steal the show. So keep going.
So that's where I'm going now, is to that. So let me put my glasses on. And I'm gonna make us all car sick one more time, but then we'll be settled in pretty good on our stuff. Because I'm gonna move this document, Cammy, where you see my hands better and my paper better. And I'm gonna bring it down here and do this right here and maybe put a light on it. And wait. Okay, so, and I can zoom that in just a little bit. All right, so now I take something like this and I start thinking about, y'all, I got stuff everywhere. Stuff everywhere. Okay, so now I'm going to start thinking about the doodling and the noodling. Now, I will tell you that there have been times when I did this that if I didn't have enough sections, I might cheat. Like if I said, I wish that this was a section, I might bring in a line here and close it off, or I might do some of those little pieces up in the hair just to kind of have. I have been known to just even add on more if I wanted another one up there. Um, so I think this has plenty. So I tell the students now, this is the part where I say to them, now I want you to, think about yourself, think about things that are important to you, things that you like about yourself, maybe things you don't like about yourself, and think about your favorite things, think about your future, think about, maybe things you plan to do, maybe there's some activities you're involved in, and how can you represent all that in here? And so we're just going to doodle, and I didn't really intend to use, I don't know why my pen wouldn't work. Oh, now my pen works. So I tend to work straight with a pen, but I have told them that sometimes you think that you want something in your image and it's complicated. So you can go ahead and use a pencil and sketch something and then ink it in. That's what happened. That's what happened here when I had these glasses and I thought, what am I seeing right now? And I just did this image a few weeks ago. And I thought, well, I live in eastern Arkansas, the Delta. There's a lot of row crops going on right now. And I thought, well, every morning I ride to work, the sunrise, the crops. So I thought, well, then what can be out of the other eye? And I thought, well, what if it's more like at night? Well, I promise you, I didn't do this crazy little image right here without sketching it with a pencil first and working it with the ink pen after, right? So we had done a little one-day thing on various patterns and doodles. So I had shown them this little basket pattern, a pinwheel kind of pattern. So they had an option, to what I call in my class noodle and doodle, or doodle and noodle, and that's when you're just, kind of patterning things. But then I also said, go with, you can use text. Text is a beautiful texture or a beautiful pattern. If there's something you would like to write, please make sure it's appropriate from a class. Leave the inappropriate things for your own journal, but not in my class. So if I was going to start working on this one, and you might be wanting to start on yours, you could. I might start out with just something simple to get warmed up. I might start out by just, doing some kind of cross contour little stripe. I might write something here, in my own art. When I get to this part, sometimes the glasses, I think of it in terms of the lens I'm looking through, and so I may do something with that. When I get to my mouth, I might think of the kinds of words I want to speak and put words there. That's me. I don't even tell the kids that, because then they'll all put words in their mouth and stuff in their eyes. I just, well, sometimes I tell them. It depends. And so now I'm talking and visiting, but now I'm actually kind of doodling and noodling. And I will just play with it till the whole thing is full. And as far as this space, it kind of depends on how big your blind contour turns out. So my students, one season, we used a paper, this, a big old piece of, can I show that? It's like a 18 by, it's like 12 by 18, size. And so let me see if I can back up a little bit. Okay, so this is a big piece of paper. Some of my kids this year had, the year that we did this, had like a small, like probably a small little thing. And so they have a lot of dead space. You have a lot of dead space, you need to do something to balance out your composition. So some of them actually did stuff in their, around in their background as well, made up their own, um, thing. So, okay, so here's an example where I did peace and hope out of my mouth. I was having a grandbaby born. Actually, oh, look, there's my family. There's Jim, that's my husband, and my daughter, and my son, and my grandbaby. Son-in-law, he's kind of little over here. So now you'll notice there's color on this one. Generally, I go black and white with them, and then partway through the project, I will say, okay, you can use a color or two. There have been times that I let them just whatever, full color if you want to. If they want to, you're really not going to stop them anyway. They'll sneak around and do what they want to. So I kind of leave that to them. But the color can be, have meaning for them. The color can be a part of it. I wanted to show a few other things that we've done with this. I don't know if I think I will. I'm just going with my own flow. Stop me, Kris, if you need to. So this is one that has quite a bit. I mean, this one you really like lose. Wait, that's not going to work. That's glossy. That's shiny. This one you really lose a lot of the actual portrait in it because it's got so many little different textures. Oh, down by my chest, I said, I made that be my heart, set my heart aflame. So I made it, be something about my heart there. So up here where my brain is, I say, think about it, So I tend for my own self, I tend to do things that somehow or another my faith ends up in there a little bit. Sometimes not, but most of the time it does, because we can't really separate ourselves from things like that. And I tell that to the students, you can't.
Cheryl, do you limit content?
No, well, in my room, I have, and I know you're not looking at my face right now, but in my room, I tend to keep a no-no list, no-no list. And that list is things that, our school says we're not going to have: nudity, obviously, nudity, profanity, gang related, drug, alcohol related,
Gotcha.
weapons, that sort of thing. And then I do make a point, though, to tell them that that doesn't mean that those aren't worthy of art, but that those kinds of things will probably need to be in their own journal or their own art at home. I have
right,
students.
Just respecting school environment.
Right, right. And if a student says something to me about, well, I'd kind of like to have a weapon because we hunt and it's big for me and my dad or something, then I will talk to them about how can you present it in such a way? How can you express that or communicate that and still follow my guideline? And that's that's a problem solving. And so
Yep.
that's or maybe there's something drug related even. Sometimes if they'll tell me, I'm wanting to say, my grandpa died of lung cancer and I would really like to put something about smoking here. And well then okay, let's just make sure that it's clear that you're not saying, hey, let's go smoke a cigarette together.
Correct. Very good. All right, sorry to interrupt. It was just a perfect segue on that one.
Yeah, no. And I tell them that, like, so one of the most wonderful things that they will do a lot of times, and I'll tell them, you may have favorite quotes, favorite scripture, favorite songs, just whatever you put in there. Find if it's explicit or something, if it's a song lyric that's explicit, you need to find a way for that to not be there. And they're good about it. They know that there's two worlds, their own friend and relaxed and listening to what we want to world and the school world. They're not dumb. So, okay, I wanted to show a few little things that I've done over the years that are taking this idea but doing something a little different with it. I drew this one earlier today with a Crayola marker. Now, and this is a paper that's more like a watercolor paper. It's kind of slick on one side, has a little bit of a tooth on the other. Watercolor paper works great. Well, it depends. Some watercolor paper is real absorbent and markers won't release as easy on it. But, and so let's just see if it does. When you wet it, you know, it's gonna make, oh yeah, let me get some water. I've got my water and just a watercolor brush. And you can come along and lay down some water here and there. The thing about this is if I was going to do this, I would make sure that my kids have already kind of experimented with using wetting markers, because the first time they get a hold of them and do this, they will just paint everything totally in. And you're just wanting a little bit of accent. Well, I'm just wanting a little bit of accent. I guess if they're the artist and they want something else. I'm not exactly choice. Well, you know, the tab and the choice based. I wouldn't call myself necessarily full choice, but I do believe that the student is the artist, and when they decide they're going to paint something in or they're going to color something in, you know, that's their business. As long as they're doing the objective that I was kind of seeking out too. So, you know, I'm just kind of wetting sort of randomly where I would want to on this, and I would let it dry, and then I would come back with my pens and do writing and stuff into this. So this is, and what I like about this too is like I put together some little art kits for some of my students, and I put some markers, I put a paintbrush. I didn't have the watercolors to give them or anything, and so, oh look, something's on the paper there. It's resisting. Oh, now drawing it with a crayon and then letting that be a resist, that might be a thing. I had never even thought of that. So this would be a thing. Another idea is that I've done before, and since I did draw this one with Sharpie when I didn't even intend to, is that I could even, look at that, y'all, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's looking cool.
Yeah, and then when it's dry, you can do a lot of that graffiti and drawing and writing in it and just be like cool. So this one's got Sharpie on it, so that's not going anywhere. So if I wanted to bust out a box of watercolors, or if I wanted to say, you know, some parts are going to be a certain color. I know that's one of my glasses, right? The glasses lens is right there. I might throw down a little bit here, and I might put some over in my hair. I don't really know where my glasses are on this. Maybe here. Who knows? And then I'm kind of, you know, if I have color up here, I might like to have a little bit of it down here. So this black isn't going to go anywhere. So I could even let my water even just go past if I wanted to. What if I just let it go anywhere? Kids, unless they've been in an art program for a while, they're not going to be that daring that, oh, what if it just goes outside the lines? They won't play that game, but not generally. But I'm going to, because that is cool to me. And when this is dry, then I can do some of that. Ooh, you know what? I might like some of this that's just on my brush to come like right over here and be just a little lighter.
I love this because I was afraid to add color over my doodling and texturing in fear that the ink would run and ruin. But I like the idea of doing it first, letting it dry, and then going in and embellishing over the top.
Yeah, you absolutely could. I could get the blow dryer right now and dry it all down. This guy is drying nice, and I love when you get all those little ripply things. You know, they start to have their own personality even. Ooh, I wonder what it'll look like if that runs a little bit. Okay. So Cheryl's gonna do some goofy stuff. All right. So I would love to real quickly show another thing that I have used blind contour portraits for in the past. Hey, you know what, Kris? I never did like go into this drawing and do any of the monster stuff like horns um, or scary eyes or fangs or any of that stuff. And that's exactly the kind of stuff I was thinking about. But now I'm kind of into my art. I don't know if I can finish the class because I'm like drawing.
And oh my gosh, you're not wrong in that it becomes addictive, because I started just a little practice and then I found myself just wanting to continue to do that and wishing that the conference call of the day would continue to go on and on, because I was doodling while I was listening to these conference calls. So yeah, it does absolutely get addictive. And you are so right in terms of, if you want your whole class, if you're in person, if you want your whole class to be silent, give them this assignment, because people will just put their heads down and doodle, doodle, doodle all day. So
they do. It's amazing what you can get out of them. That's why it's one of the reasons why I do this assignment. Well, for one thing, we usually start with line and drawing, and so I start with this assignment a lot of times because we're learning to look, we're learning to draw, but then it's also a high level of interest and success, and that kind of gets them hooked to listen to me on the next thing I'm going to have them do, which they may not like. And so it helps me a lot. So I wanted to show, I've actually used blind contour in a 3D setting. Let me see if I can kind of show where it started. So this was a blind contour, and y'all gotta tell you, this is at least 12 years old, and maybe more like 14 years old that I've had this example. So anyway, and you can see where I had drawn it just like with an ink pen, and then you see these kind of color changes on it, and that's because I was marking it, because I was going to use tracing paper to make some patterns. Now I don't have all my patterns any longer. I used to have them all, but then this is just some foam core, and it was just colored on like with either marker or water or tempera paint. I forget. Feels like tempera paint. And the pieces where the contour lines, or where the continual line would make a section, that would be a section to glue, to build up and make it 3D. And so this was one I did. I was at a fall conference, and someone presented this, and this was the one I made at that conference. But since then, I've taught it a few different times. And one of the times, I think this might be, is this the pattern of this? It may be the pattern of this. I don't know. It may not be the pattern anymore. This I found is at least one of the tracings from the blind contour. I thought I still had the blind contour for this. Hang on. I think I do. It may be this. I had longer hair then.
I love how you turned blind contour into 3D, and the idea of doing it with just cardboard. Yeah, because that can transfer right into a virtual situation as well.
Yeah, this is the piece of tracing paper from part of that. So basically what you do is you start tracing out parts that will be layers. And then another year I taught it, and when I taught it, it was like, no, we're going to go ahead and make it like our regular blind contour, and we're going to Zentangle and do little drawings in it, and do just like if we were doing it on paper. And what's interesting is at my 3D studio, they've already had Art 1, so they may very well have done this the year before in a 2-dimensional format. But, you know, it's just it's cardboard. I think I made a rule like it had to be at least 3 layers or something like that. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers. So, and they're like starting to cuss by the end, because box cutters and this cardboard is like, really, you've got to hold your mouth right. And they're like, this is hard. I don't want to see another piece of cardboard ever. Too bad. So anyway, I just thought I would share. Another thing I did one year, but I don't have an example, is in 3D also, we did a blind contour drawing, and then we just did a wire sculpture. And really, it's a continual line. So your wire can just be one continual line. You got to have some pliers and do a little work with it, but fun. So I wanted to show one that I just finished of my own. You know, these are ones these things that you've been looking at are ones that I have started and made with my kids sitting in the room. And that's all well and good and all. But I have one I just finished Friday. I didn't even show that one. This one's all about being an artist and a teacher, and I put artist quotes, like by Picasso, by Michelangelo, by, if it was an artist I like. Here, this is Salvador Dali. Don't fear perfection, you'll never reach it. And look, my little R is backwards. Let's see, where's my journal? Here we go. So Friday, I'm sitting at a place all day long in a meeting. And hang on, you don't need to be all seeing all that. And a few weeks ago,
Love that.
a few weeks ago, when I was doing this with my students, oh, I just stuck my elbow in the purple paint. Yeah, that's how I roll. I taught at 3 different periods. So I did one here, I did one here, I did one here. So there's nothing wrong with overlapping, doing more. And this may speak to that, how do you know when to finish? Because maybe it doesn't matter if you get totally finished, because you're going to do another one right there on the same page. Hadn't really thought about teaching that in a lesson that way, but so I did 3 different ones. Here's an example where my hair, I really only drew it to here, but then later in my when I was adding, I kept doing that concentric parallel thing, undulating thing, really, on out. And so a lot of this just, you know, I had this gap here, and I thought, how is there a way to connect them? You know, so the purple came in later.
Cheryl, is the latticed part in the middle there, is that actually drawing?
Yeah, that's my drawing.
Hey, wow, that looks so magnificent.
That's a black ink, Julie.
I thought maybe you collaged something on there.
No, but I have. I mean, like over here where it says "Don't crack under pressure," I had found that in a magazine, and you know,
that's perfect.
This is another one of those things about me, is that I'm looking through a magazine or a newspaper, and if I see a phrase that I think I need for my life, I tear that puppy out of there and I keep it. And so I'm not a hoarder. I am not a hoarder. Anyway.
Does every art teacher out there?
I'm not. Anyway. All right. So I think that's kind of my, demonstration. I don't know. Do you want me to do anything else?
Well, I will ask our participants if they have any other questions. I will share a few too. I kept sending this is kind of fun because it's almost like Kris gets to go to art class again. And so whoever the instructor of the week is, I always send them my work and I'm like, and then I did this. And so I giggle because, oh, and you can't really tell because it's so dark. Maybe my overhead will show it better. But you can see like, wow, that one just was a real epic fail. But it reminds me of one of the questions that we had. And that is, Cheryl, how do you, is it just practice to not make it so small? So somebody said like, they're afraid to draw big. Any suggestions on how to make sure that you're staying on your paper? She was
Well,
concerned with going off the paper.
right. And hey, I have gone off the paper plenty of times, especially if I'm drawing like my hand or something. I don't know why that changes it for me. But the way our brain works when we're doing this exercise is and this is true for just about any drawing, not just blind drawing, is that we start out, maybe we start out bigger than the thing, or we start out smaller than the thing. But within a few seconds, when the right brain, and some people don't believe in the right brain any longer, I don't know any other label for it, but our creative self gets some control, then it will almost always go to life size, the life size you're seeing. And so that could mean that if your reflection in the mirror or it's a phone could be tiny, that it might start scrunching down smaller. I really try to focus on making my hand and my eye go at the same pace. Now, the difference today, and I'm a little embarrassed about it, is that the difference today was I just zoomed all over that paper. And so I'm not sure if the drawing I was doing, I mean, to me, Kris's drawing is much more, looks much more like a true blind contour. I may have been relying on, since I was talking and all, I may have been relying on a slightly different drawing skill than actually slowing down and doing what my eye is looking at. Now that may sound weird.
No.
That may sound weird, but just to answer the questions, there've been plenty of times I went off the page, and if I had one like Kris has, where she feels like it's kind of bunched up over on one side, or isn't quite right or something. First of all, on blind contour, there's no such thing as right.
Right.
They are weird. You lose your place. You don't know where, nothing hooks up. You don't know where you're drawing. I mean, it looks like one of my eyes. Oh wait, yeah, it looks like one of my eyes here is way over here, right? I just realized that's my eye way over there. And so, I mean, I'm sorry, way over here. This is my eye, way over here. And so that's almost like we've been in a car wreck or something. We've been dismembered.
I want the ability to make it look as cool as you did. Here's another one that I had that I started, and I giggle because you can kind of see my glasses here. My mouth ended up way down here, and so I was pleased because I did actually have a neck, and so but my body ended up really huge. But in a blind contour situation, and when you morph it with all these fun things, it didn't really matter. Again, this one was a case where I did end up being way too small. Completely forgot a neck, didn't allow myself the cheat to add the neck. So I thought, monster without a neck, it could happen. And so then, just embellished from there. I did have a little fun with color too. I was using also Sanford makes the Ink Joy that you were using. This is a brand new product. It's called the Sharpie Roller. It's a 0.07 millimeter. And I loved it. It was fine line. It really rolled nicely. The colored ones that I used, I happened to use a new Crayola product called Take Note, and it's washable gel pens. So I had a lot of fun with that, and I thought littles might be able to do that. One suggestion too, that Kieran Crosby, who wrote the lesson plan that I attached, and it doesn't, apparently the link isn't working, so we've added it in the comments, and it's also at nascoeducation.com. Just scroll to the bottom, there's a little green box that says free lesson plans. You can click on that and follow the link through. But she suggested that you just keep practicing on the blind contour. And to me, it's a great idea, because then all of those blind contours, you can kind of mess around with and play with and do different things with them too. Who was it that said, Dana says, wow, so many ideas with one lesson, great ideas to help students. And I think, Cheryl, you and I got a little bit off topic, because how would you take your blind contour and then monster mash it?
Well, even right this moment, I started thinking about, okay, if this was a monster mash, what could I do? And I thought, well, I started doing and let me zoom in a little bit. I started doing just sort of a little concentric, and then I hooked up the lines to make it more like a spider web. And I thought, what happens if I just go, woo, and I can't do that without the sound effects. And and then down here somewhere, actually make the little guy, and then what if, and that makes me really want to retrace this part that got wet. And of course, now I'm using a Sharpie instead of the Crayola brand, but so what, and then what if somehow this, ooh, what if you had fangs? Oh, this one already looks like a fang over here, doesn't it? Sure does. And if I was going to introduce a color, I might use red around in it here and there, make the lip red. Ooh, maybe there's I want to suck your blood, And then I might actually, let's see, look at this little trick here. Yeah. And so I would just play around with it and start thinking about how, what reminds me of various things from Halloween, or if not Halloween, what reminds me of something spooky, or I might leave my eye really white, but give it like a cat eye, and give myself a little bit of that. So I promise you, some of my students would already be like freaking me out. Look, it's already kind of freaking me out. So I promise you, some of my students.
I have to admit, it was kind of fun when I was doing my monster, because I tend to be somebody who draws happy. And so to draw something that might be scary was, I'm not kidding, making me a little bit nervous. And so, but I just kept playing around. And so I was writing words like scary and boo. I wrote fright and fear and spooky. I wrote gross, because I was getting nervous, because I didn't want to write any words that were too dark. And then I was laughing because I was calling it my dark side. So right here I wrote dark side. So in in the world of embellishment too, I had blind contoured and it was a hot mess. And Cheryl, reassured me that from a hot mess, you can still make a good monster. And so my biggest embellishments were adding the horns. And then I sort of jazzed up the mouth a little bit to make it a little bit jokery. And then some of the embellishments that I did, I felt were a little dark side-ish. This line right here, if you were able to get really close, you would see that they're little tiny skull heads. They're bad, but so I'm really grateful you can't see them. This right here, these little bones were supposed to be like your neck or your ribs showing. So yeah, I thought I was being really ghastly with my stuff, but that's sort of how you morph it. But I had asked Cheryl to show some of the variations because there is so many different ways that you can vary it and make it look different as well. This one I decided, even though my blind contour, I did monster mash it, but I decided I would stick with comments that had to do with being weird or odd or crazy, abnormal, unusual, strange. I didn't like how I made the words so tiny though, because you couldn't see them as well unless you're super up close.
Well,
You are cranking out your monster mash very well. We actually have 4 minutes left, and so if there's any other questions, feel free to throw them in there. I can also look after the webinar and answer any or consult with Cheryl on any questions. I do want to say though, I've got a fun freebie if everybody for everybody who has stayed on. If you answer the survey, and the reason we want you to answer the survey is we want to hear your ideas and know how to become better. But if you answer the survey, I will send you a Sharpie roller, the 0.07 millimeter Sharpie roller. I think it's a gel ink, and I loved it. So just answer the questions honestly, and it's okay if there's good stuff, bad stuff, ugly stuff, whatever you want us to know. Cheryl, that's phenomenal. Love that. Unbelievable how fast you could whip that out. That was so great. Turn the camera back on you so we can see your face so I can properly thank you.
Okay, hang on. I got to give it this little.
Oh yeah, look at you just getting into it.
That's like
back
give it that hello.
Next Monday with
that's
Dia de los Muertos, and a lot of people think about that. As I say, I got you upside down. A lot of people think about that as a Halloween thing, and I would just encourage you to come and learn, because there is so much more to it than Halloween. In fact, it is quite amazing, and I've learned a lot. So tons of information out there, and it will be a lot of handouts to share as well. Cheryl, I want to say thank you so much. You not only gave us the Monster Mash idea, but taking it into the 3D blind contour was outstanding. You are so terrific, and I've had such a good time playing, and I will be blind contouring for a long time. So thank you for being with us.
Again, I just enjoyed it, and thank you for asking me.
Absolutely. Everybody, please come back. Please, if you can't make the live, always just register, because we will send you the recorded link. If you did join us live, you will, in about an hour, you'll receive an email that has a PD certificate you can download, the handouts that you can download, and then also the recorded session. If you have any questions or concerns, always give me a call. I'm happy to be a resource. Don't be scared teaching art, because I know this is crazy times. I know y'all are frustrated and tired and overwhelmed. We are so supportive of you and so supportive of art education, and wouldn't be here without you. So keep hanging in there, everybody. Be safe, be happy, and keep teaching art.